Greetings, brethren. It is I, the donkey, back with yet another beer. And I do want to venture outside of German beers soon, because it's boring to just do German beers, I think. Although there are so many German beers, so there will be German beers forever. But before we venture outside of German beers and just try stuff, I wanted to get out one of probably my favorites when it comes to Pilsner beers, and that is Rothaus. Can you see it better if I hold it over here? Yes, Rothaus Tannenzaepfle. Now, this is a beer that comes from the Black Forest, and I'm pretty sure it's sold all over Germany because it has, I think it's taken a while. I mean, the brewery has been going since 1791, but I think it was kind of a bit more popular in the area, and then sort of in the last, I want to say 15 to 20 years, it sort of spread around the country a bit more. I definitely remember this not being available at every drinks store, which is also something I'm at some point probably going to have to take you on a field trip of, because I think that's something that is kind of a German thing as well, because we have supermarkets that basically just sell drinks. So it's just beer and soda and sparkling water and cider and juices and all sorts of stuff, right? So, and that's all they sell. They might have some snacks like crisps and stuff like that, but that's all they do. So yeah, but it used to be that I couldn't find this a lot. I had this. This was probably one of the first beers I actually had, so I must have been 17 when I had it. Yeah, I could never find it at home. But then at some point it started sort of creeping around, and now it's everywhere because obviously it's just really good. It's just really good beer. So let's pop that open. This one has a golden mantle. And it's just a small bottle, so it's not going to be the full mug. But I don't have small glasses yet. So we're just going to have to deal with that. Now, that wasn't particularly well poured. It should have a bit more of a head. But I would say when it comes to sort of the fizziness level of Pilsners, it is kind of on the low end, which isn't really indicative of anything. I don't particularly hate fizzy beers or anything, and I'm not in the position of, oh, it has to be super fizzy either. I think fizziness can just be whatever, but it just works for this one. So cheers. I just love this beer. So with this beer, I like to sort of, I'm not much of a hipster, so I don't go for, oh, this has an incredibly hoppy taste, and oh, I can taste essence of Amaryl. It's not for me, right? I just like to classify beers in sort of 3 distinct categories, and then just go by really basic flavor categories. If that's not enough for you, I'm sure you can find some hipster somewhere who'll drink a lot of IPAs and be like, the hoppiness. Not me. I would classify beers in the basic categories of chugging beers, which are just not good, but they'll get the job done. You'll get drunk, and they're beers. This is basically all the American beers. There's lots of international ones as well that do this sort of job. Then there's drinking beers, which they're sort of the middle step, where they are tasty, they're enjoyable, and you wouldn't mind having a couple of them. And then there's sort of the flavor beers, right, which they're very specific in how they are. I would definitely put IPAs in this category, and you can take it or leave it. That's fine. I personally don't like IPAs very much, but they're in this category because they're just very strong tasting. So there's a really strong taste to the beer, and you're probably not going to have more than one of them. They're just sort of You come home from work, or you just had a busy day or something, and then you just have one of them, and you just have it to sort of savor it and have that experience, right, and that taste. Whereas this is sort of in between those two higher categories, right? It is an incredibly flavorful beer. It's pretty bitter and somewhat savory as well, but it is still so drinkable because it doesn't have any acrid or acidy aftertaste. There's no, some beers when you drink a lot of them, you get a little bit of that sort of petroleum aftertaste because they're just a bit more aggressive. Nothing. It's so smooth and just lovely, but at the same time packed with just amazing deep flavors. Oh, deep flavors, right? So it's just it really strikes that balance for me and just is fun to drink. I just really like this beer. It's so good. It's one of those that yeah, when I see it sold somewhere, like say I go to a pub and they have this, it's a choice I make very often. Yeah, like here's one thing I will say is I am very German in how I drink beer. Um, uh, so the thing with Germany is, right, we have tens of thousands of breweries all across the country. There are so many. Pretty much every town, every city, every village will have their own brewery. Sometimes more. My town is a relatively small city, but it has, I want to say, 4 breweries. And then the next village has a brewery, and the village beyond that has a brewery, and so on and so forth. So the whole area that I live in probably has 12 to 15 different beers, brands, and they all have various kinds of flavors and everything. So there, wherever you go in Germany, you'll get different kinds of beers. There are some beers that are universal that you'll get everywhere, like Beck's, like Erdinger, Paulaner, stuff that just kind of everybody likes. So you'll get those repeated, or Bitburger, Radeberger. There's so many of them, of the popular ones. But I like to support local because having a brewery isn't actually that profitable anymore. There's a lot of regulations you have to follow, all that sort of stuff. So it's just prudent for me to go to when I go to some area and I go to a pub and I want to just have the local, and I'll be happy with that. I'm not much of a beer snob. I'll drink whatever beer, even if it's not great. But yeah, I like to support local. But when they do have this on tap, because when it's on tap, it's so much better than when it comes out of the bottle, I do get weak sometimes. And I don't support local, and then I just drink Tannenzaepfle. Because it's just so good. It's just so good. Rothaus, the company that makes this, they do also do some different kinds. They have a few different beers that they do. This is easily my favorite of theirs. It's the sort of standard one that you can get everywhere, and then in sort of specialized beer shops, like the one you see in my outro, you can get the other kinds. But this one is it's beautiful, and you can get it pretty much in most places, I would say, because it has just become so popular. And it's just a really good beer. So, unlike Beck's, which got a 2 out of 10, and I'm sure I have offended people with that, this gets an 8 out of 10. It is so good. It's not perfect. There are beers that I consider way better than that. But, I just don't want to just throw 10 out of 10 out there for just anything. So that will have to be a very special beer. But it is an 8 out of 10. It's just a really, really good beer. And if you're not German, this is the beer you want to introduce people with. Because it is a little bit more popular, the chances of you actually getting your hands on this are higher than with, more local and rare types of beers. But if you can get your hands on this, this is the one to introduce people to German beers, especially to Pilsners, because it's just so good and it's so smooth and it's so flavorful and everything about it is just good and it's drinkable and has a lot of flavor. Especially when you're used to American beers, this will be a culture shock to you because, I mean, I don't think you've ever had anything like this. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. Let me just finish this. Despite being so flavorful, it's very chuggable. It's so smooth and lovely. Love this beer. 8 out of 10. Rothaus Tannenzaepfle. Very good. Alright. Have a lovely evening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another video another day. Because there will always be another day for another beer. Alright, take care, guys.